Well, welcome back, Raider Nation. This is Raider Sparks coming at you with another video here. It's basically Christmas morning here. We're about to kick off the draft today and really excited for the Raiders. And thanks everybody for joining in today. I know there's a lot of videos going on, so I just wanted to make the video. I do it every year, sort of go over my top 91 players that I like for the Raiders all throughout the draft and UDFA type players. I'll go quickly through the names because it would be a forever video if I did that, but I just like doing it. It's kind of fun. I picked the 91 numbers because you know, if I was given a NFL franchise and they said, hey, you can only have rookies, you get 91 players, whatever, the international player. So if you had to fill a whole roster with rookies, these are the guys I'd start my my franchise with, and the guys I really enjoyed watching tape. Some are just my guys, kind of just enjoyed watching throughout this process. Other guys are guys I think the Raiders might actually want to be interested in, that type of thing. And I've done pretty well, especially the UDFAs. Even last year, you know, I talked about Thomas Harper, and we ended up getting him. Talked about Jonah Lalu, and we ended up getting him. Talked about Collier, the running back. We got him. I don't know if he makes the roster this year. The other two guys I think definitely will. And I also talked about Gottlieb, the Maryland tackle, who I thought was very impressive last year as a guard at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was one of the best guards there. So don't sleep on him, Raider fans. He's a guy that could push for a roster spot this year as well. So just a lot of fun. And through the years, you know, I talked about Darnay Holmes, Sam Webb, you know, those types of guys like that, and they ended up coming over the Raiders and being productive. In fact, right now, Darnay Holmes is probably scheduled to be the starting nickel for us right now, and that might change. Speaking of change, I think this Raider roster is going to look a whole lot different after this week. I mean, you know, we've got 20 or 21 roster spots available. We have 70 players now. I don't know if we still get the pathway player with a Goa being a couple years in. I don't know how that works, but we might still get the 91. I'm not sure, but either way, this team's going to look a whole lot different. I mean, there's going to be at least 20 to 25 rookies that join the team through the draft and the UDFA process. You know, a lot of talk about players getting traded, but more than that, even we have after we sign our draftees, we're going to have around 31 million or so in cap space for after draft free agency or post draft free agency. So this roster is going to look a whole lot different. But obviously you saw the thumbnail on the video today, and I just wanted to kind of touch on it a little bit. Is that I think there's a big possibility, and it should be interesting to see if the Raiders switch over to a 3-4 defense. The reason I say that is, one, the last couple of years in Seattle, that's what Pete Carroll had as a 3-4. Tampa Bay, Spytech, you know, they did a 3-4 defense. I think there's a lot of signs pointing towards that. I mean, if you're going to start Landon Roberts and Devin White as your linebackers, most likely that signals a 3-4 style of a defense. We brought in a traditional nose tackle, so again, a signal right there as a 3-4. All the safeties coming in, safeties that can potentially play linebacker like Chin, it's kind of a signal. But a big one for me is Tyree Wilson, what we do with him if he stays around. Like, for him to be as effective as he can be, or as good as he was at Texas Tech, that guy should never have his hand in the dirt. Just you know, he needs to stand up. He loses all of his advantages when having to go from the 3-point stance. You know, he was so effective at Texas Tech because he could stand up, and you use that length, use that stride, use that length, and that was how he's most effective. So if he's going to be part of the team, switching to a 3-4 style defense would just benefit him. And if you want to stand him up over the center or over the guard, whatever, it's fine, but he should never be in a 3-point stance. And so if we're going to go that route, that's the way to go. And so I kind of through the draft process, I kind of went and kind of looked at players and did both in my 91 traditional defensive end. Obviously, Max does need a backup if we go that route, or if we stick with the 4-3, you know, to get a traditional type of 4-3 defensive end. So I put some of those players in here, but I also kind of kept focus on guys that could play the outside linebacker role, that stand up edge rusher type, that could possibly play some linebacker drop in coverage and those types of things. And so I kind of preference that just because when I do my mock draft, and so I'll get right to that. My best case scenario for today and for this weekend for the Raiders, and this is my ultimate mock draft for the Raiders. And so the best case scenario would be to take the trade if if possible, for the Saints, the trade that's being floated around, and move back to 9 and get the Saints second and third round pick. And so I prefaced that, I did that in my final mock draft. And so here it is, my best case mock draft. I think would be the best case mock draft for the Raiders would be to take that trade, and luckily somehow, some way, Ashton Genty's still there at 9, and he ended up picking him because he obviously changes. And I'm kind of tired I hear a lot about Raider Nation kind of downplaying the significance of the running back, saying that you don't pick the running back because our line's not good enough. Well, you have him for 5 years. If you can't get the line right this year, get it right next year. But he could be that generational player, that Charles Barkley type player, and I'd hate to miss out on that. I don't want to see him running for crazy touchdowns and crazy yards on some other team. If we have a chance to get him, especially at 9, if we did it, that would be phenomenal. And so my second round pick would be Tyleik Williams. I think if you look at our depth chart, we've got three techs right now that I think are really good in Wilkins, Butler, and Lalu. But we only have one true nose tackle, and so we need a guy that can really play the A-gap, and I think Tyleik Williams is the best A-gap player in the draft. I know the 2 guys from Michigan are hyped up a lot, but they're more of the 3 tech guys, although Grant probably will play a lot on the A-gap. I just think Tyleik Williams has a different gear. I think there's some more pass rush there that can be developed. And but what I liked about him the most of any of these other players is that in the biggest moments, in the biggest games, no matter the stakes, he played his best. And so that's a trait that we need more of on this team. And so I think Tyleik Williams would be a phenomenal pick and fill out our defensive line. That's a spot on the roster that I think if we're doing a 3-4 on our nose tackle spot, we don't have a starter right now. I mean, we brought in a guy that is a rotational type player, could be a starter, but I think we could definitely upgrade that and would really fill out the defensive line for us. My next second round pick, I guess would be New Orleans pick, would be Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. Interesting about him, I was talking about him on my very first video of this draft season. Back when in consensus they had him down at like 180 or something like that, some crazy number. And I just said at the time, if he runs anything under a 4.5 40, he's a lock for the second round. And I wouldn't be surprised if he went late first round, to be honest with you. I think for us, I think he's the best receiver we could get. He's a true X, and the stats are really good. He's a full route tree guy. He's a big guy, and definitely a guy that we could use on the outside. But what makes him unique, I think, more than anything, is the fact that usually the big guys could run their routes and they don't really cut, or they don't really sink their hips. He has a hip sink for a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", and well over 200 pounds, and he still has that ability, which is pretty unique. And so I think for our value, I know a lot of guys like Ted McMillian, so do I, but I mean, if you did Ashton Genty and Jaden Higgins, that's better than any other combination that I think you could come up with as far as a running back receiver combination. I think that's the best one. So that's the reason I like him. And so the third round, I really like Jacob Parrish. I think he's a well-rounded defensive back out of Kansas State. Probably would be best in the nickel, which right now Darnay Holmes would be our starting nickel. So I think that would be a true upgrade. He's a fantastic player. He can play on the outside too, so he's not just pigeonholed into being a slot cornerback. He can do both, but he can play the slot really well. And so this would be a fabulous pickup for us. And then the next third round pick for me would be Will Howard. I kind of feel like Will Howard is going to go in the second round just because there's so many quarterback needy teams. There's not a lot of good ones in the draft. But I mean, Chip Kelly basically described his ideal quarterback, and he was off by 1 inch and 5 pounds of describing Will Howard. A guy that's 6'5", 225, I think is what he said. But Will Howard's basically that, and he can make all the throws, and he can run. So, I mean, I don't understand why the consensus has him so low. I think it would be a great spot for him. Obviously, he knows Chip Kelly's lingo. He performed really well under him, and then obviously he gets the benefit of sitting behind Geno and learning. So I think that would just be a fantastic pick for the future for the Raiders. A 5th-round pick or 4th-round pick I have is Vernon Broughton, a defensive tackle, again adding to the defensive line. I think he's out of Texas. He's a well-rounded defensive tackle. You know, he can play. They played him everywhere. A lot of B gap, but some A gap. You know, over the tackle, even outside the tackle. Sometimes he's big. He's 6'5". He's like 311. I think was his total stat line for that. But very, very quick, active hands, impressive defensive tackle. And then with Wilkins' foot injury, it wouldn't hurt to add another one just in case that foot's not quite right. And he's got that versatility up and down the line with the length, the size, everything else. I think it would be a fantastic pick for the Raiders. The fifth round pick, I got Fidel Diggs, outside linebacker / edge from Syracuse. Again, this is kind of a future pick for us because, you know, we have Malcolm and we have Max if we're in a 4-3, but if we go to the 3-4, we've got Malcolm playing the spot. Maybe Tyree, maybe not. We'll see what happens with him. But Fidel Diggs is an up-and-coming player. Tremendous sack output, tackles for loss, and his career trajectory has just gone up, up, and up, and up. He's got an NFL body. Some of the issues, I think, why he's as low as he is his tackling is not kind of up to where it needs to be, but it will be with some coaching, and Rob Leonard, I think, would get him squared away right away. I think it'd be a phenomenal pick for us in the 5th round. I kind of think he's going to go a little sooner than that. He was really good at the Shrine Bowl. He was tough to block coming off the edge, and so he's a guy I really like. 6th round pick, Corey Black out of Oklahoma State, outside cornerback. Probably could play the slot if you wanted to, but think he's measurables and athleticism is almost the same as Eric Stokes. And so if we liked Eric Stokes, we're going to love Corey Black at Oklahoma State. Well-tested guy. I think he had the most, or right up there in college football as man-to-man snaps. I mean, he's battle-tested. He always took the best receiver, and so a lot of PBUs. Got his hands on the football often. Didn't have the interceptions that you might want to see, but I mean, he's a heck of a football player. It'd be a great addition to our cornerback room. Next 6th round pick, I got Sean Dolak from Buffalo. We've had good success from Buffalo, obviously Malcolm Kuntz and Khalil Mack, but a linebacker from Buffalo, exceptional. I mean, we really liked Ellis, obviously, from the Patriots. I think if you go back and look athletically, they're very similar. But the stat line Ellis put up was really good in college, but the stat line that Dolak has is very impressive. And he had 5 interceptions as a linebacker. It tells you the type of player he is. Tackles for loss, sacks, kind of did it all, and great athleticism. The type of linebacker that we definitely could use here. And then the last 6th round pick is Efton Chisholm out of Eastern Washington. We're clearly looking for a traditional slot type receiver, and he is all of that. He was unguardable at the Shrine Bowl. Huge stat line at East Washington last season. Phenomenal year, and really is that prototypical slot receiver. The one thing that I liked about him, obviously we brought in Kyle Phillips and we brought in Renfro. The thing I liked about Efton Chisholm, he's got the NFL body. He's not the 180-pound slot receiver type guy. He's a 195-pound dude, and so he's going to be able to take some hits. He reminds me a lot of the Patriots slot receivers, and so I think that would be a great pick for us. And then the 7th round pick I have, I think he's one of the more undervalued players in the draft, is Marquise Siegel, the safety out of Kansas State. A lot like Lonnie, the guy that we signed, Lonnie Johnson, sorry. Very similar type of player, physical player, but he can cover as well. And so I think if we want to run 3 safety sets and have one of our safeties play like as a nickel, he'd be fantastic at it. When I was watching his one-on-ones at the Shrine Bowl, a lot of the one-on-ones you see, the coverage at Shrine Bowl, a lot of times they don't put the names up. And so I was watching his one-on-ones, and I was like, wow, this is a good-looking cornerback. And then I looked him up, and I was like, wow, he's actually a safety. And usually you spot the safety right away in those one-on-one drills. I couldn't tell with him. I thought he was a cornerback. And so, and then in the game, he comes up and lays a huge hit on a tight end that outweighed him by like 50 pounds and knocked the ball loose. Got his hands on the football a lot in college football, some interceptions, that type of thing. And so, and extremely athletic. You know, he had an awesome combine. So Marquise Siegel out of Kansas State would be the safety I would pick. And so that wraps up my best draft case scenario for the Raiders. I think I covered a lot of ground, a lot of different positions, and it's just got depth in our team. Got some future picks as well, and guys that can help right now, right away. So those are the guys I really like for the Raiders. Let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts too if you think the Raiders might switch over to a 3-4 defense. I don't think stylistically it might not change a lot, but it would definitely change the makeup of the roster construction and kind of the focus of the draft as well. And so I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch and see if that's something that the Raiders are actually doing. And then I'll go through my top 91 players, and I've got a couple extra shout outs. You know, I always do a couple extra shout outs, but my number 1 player is Ashton Jeanty. Number 2, Armand Membu. My number 3 player is Kelvin Banks. If we do trade back to 9, there's a good chance Jeanty and Membu would be gone, and so that pick for me would be Kelvin Banks. I think he's a fantastic player out of Texas. My number 4 player would be Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. I mean, there's a lot of talk of us going drafted a tight end high in the draft. Colson Loveland's been talked about quite a bit. But if we're going to do that, might as well just get the best. And one thing I like about Tyler Warren is his versatility, and he's actually a really good blocker. And the one thing I think stands out the most to me is that for him and Bowers, in 2 years we'd have the number 1 and 2 tight end in the league. But Brock Bowers is best like out of the slot, maybe not as inline as far as his route running. Tyler Warren, if you line him up inline, his route running from the inline position is fantastic. So it would be such a compliment to Bowers. That would be an interesting pick for us to get. Number 5, I've got Jalen Walker. I really want to put Mike Green here, but like I said, if I'm a GM just starting a franchise and then your first round pick would be the face of your franchise, you know, there's some off the stuff with Mike Green, off the field stuff with Mike Green. I think on the field he's one of the best players in the draft, but Jalen Walker would be the ideal player if we are switching to a 3-4, because he's a sideline type linebacker. He's a hitter and he's an edge as well. So, I mean, out of Georgia. So I think that would be a possible pick for us. And then Jahdae Barron, just a well-rounded defensive back out of Texas. Yeah, Brian Branch type player. You know, there's different defensive backs in the game. There's guys that are true cover guys that take away a half the field, and there's other guys that just do everything: get tackles for loss, sacks, force fumbles, get their hands on the football, can play on the nickel, play outside, and play safety, whatever you want him to do. And Jahdae Barron is that guy, so I really liked him. Tyler Booker out of Alabama, the guard. I think he's to me, he's the best lineman. He's just not as high because he's not a tackle. But, I mean, as far as if you want to run the football, if that's your focus, then that's your pick, because he's the best run blocker in college football, bar none. So, I mean, that's, I don't know where he might fall. JPJ fell to the 2nd round. Maybe Booker does as well. I don't think so, but I didn't think JPJ would fall either. So there you go. And then Nick Emoriani, I can't say his last name properly, but the safety out of South Carolina, just athletic freak, huge size. And so if we're going to recreate the Legion of Boom, that's the guy you recreate the Legion of Boom with. If you want Cam Chancellor, that's your guy. And of course, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State, number 7 as the wide receiver. Emeka Egbuka, I have him at number 8. Probably the Raiders probably have him higher. He's probably a first-round player out of Ohio State, but a lot of connections there. I mean, obviously Chip Kelly, he had a great career at Ohio State, but Pete Carroll drafted JSN in the 1st round in Seattle, and Emeka Egbuka is that, probably better, more athletic, faster. And so if we like JSN, or if Pete Carroll likes JSN, he's going to love Emeka Egbuka. So, I mean, there's some things going on there. And then, hate to keep going back to Ohio State, but they were so good. Travion Henderson, obviously, was fantastic with Chip Kelly. We missed out on Ashton Jeanty. We're not going to get Amarian Hampton. He's going in the 1st round, I'm pretty sure, unless we really trade back even further in the 1st. Amarian Hampton would be great. But Travion Henderson could be a possibility for us. I'm just trying to figure out kind of the draft as well. The draft is so unpredictable, you have no idea. And then, of course, Tyleik Williams again from Ohio State. Siobhan Revelle from East Carolina. I mean, if you're looking for Jalen Ramsey type player, this is it. big, athletic cornerback, but they played him everywhere. Nickel, slot, some safety. They even line him up at linebacker sometimes. This guy is an athletic freak, huge size, a prototypical Seattle cornerback. And so, I mean, if you're looking for Jalen Ramsey, you don't want to pay $30 million bucks. There you go. And then Donovan Jackson for Ohio State, guard / tackle. Fantastic player. Obviously works with Chip Kelly's run blocking scheme. Would be a great player. Gray Zabel from North Dakota. I have him on him mainly because, I mean, you look at Spytek's history. Graham Barton and Cody Mock, those guys were like 5 position type players, stole the Senior Bowl. All of those things fit Gray Zabel to the T, and so I think he fits Spytek's eye very well. And then Arion Ursary, I really liked him because out of Minnesota, the tackle, he showed much more athleticism than I thought at the combine, and he's a really good run blocker. He has some issues in the pass game, but if you can't clean those up, make him a guard. He's like a mini Mekhi Becton, and I think he would have great success at guard. And I think at the Senior Bowl, he played some guard there as well. So I think the NFL probably sees that as well. Carson Swessinger, the linebacker at UCLA, maybe the best pure linebacker in the draft. I know some of the other guys are kind of edge rushers, linebackers, but I think he's the best pure linebacker in the draft. Braden Swinson, if we are going to go to a 3-4, would be fantastic out of LSU. Very underrated player in my opinion. I think he would be a huge asset. I mean, if we were able to get him in the 3rd round, be a fantastic player. He didn't make my final list because some guys on my 3rd round that I wanted over him, but I mean, I think if the Raiders are going to do that, it'd be a great pick. Oladejo, I think I can't say his name, out of UCLA. Again, if we're going to a 3-4 style defense, he's a linebacker converted to edge. Big body guys like 265. He's a big dude playing linebacker, but he can move, man. And phenomenal Senior Bowl as well. So he's a huge energy guy. So Pete Carroll, I think, would love this player. Darian Porter, Iowa State, the cornerback. Everything that Pete Carroll would want in a cornerback. Long, big size, athleticism. Great production last year. Only problem is 1 year of production. So I think he's going to be a little lower in the draft because of that. But huge upside, huge athletic upside. Alec Ayamore from Stanford, the wide receiver, another 2X. And so if we miss out on Higgins, I think this would be a great addition. He's been compared to Godwin from Tampa Bay. So obviously that might fit Spytek's eye. But fantastic player. I mean, look what he did to Travis Hunter. He annihilated Travis Hunter. Jordan Birch out of Oregon, a more traditional defensive end type player, but huge upside, huge athleticism, strength, power, bend, and an ascending player. I mean, he was like a 5-star recruit at Georgia. It didn't quite work out. Dropped some weight, hit the weight room in Oregon, and was fantastic last year. And so I think Pete Carroll will really like him. And then I've got Kevin Winston out of Penn State. He really fits the safety mold that we're looking for. He doesn't miss tackles at all. He can play anywhere on the field. Fantastic player. His whole thing is he's got hurt. He didn't play last year. So I think that's what's going to keep him down a little bit. But he could be a draft steal like in the 3rd round if he makes it that far. I kind of think he's a 2nd round pick, but we'll see how the draft goes. You never know. And then Andrew Makuba from Texas, I think Texas uses him all over the field, but he's a ball hawk, and I think he's going to find a home at free safety. And so a lot of Raider fans want a true free safety. To me, he's probably the best true free safety. That's how I would play him. Other teams might see it different. They might want to utilize everything that he can do. I don't think he's that sure enough tackler, in my opinion, but you put him on the back end, the guy makes plays, man. Jalen Royals out of Utah State, fantastic XZ type receiver. He probably play all the receiver positions you want him to. He's built like a running back. He's extremely fast. I mean, at the Senior Bowl, he came back from injury, so he wasn't 100%. I think at the combine he wasn't quite 100%, but you see it on tape, man. He can move, and he's tough to bring down. He's like a little bit of Jamar Chase in that regard. He's He's really good. He's soft hands. And the Zebra technology had him at the combine. He was the fastest at running slants. And so if you're going to be a quick passing type offense, then that's your guy, right? That's the guy you need to go after. So I really liked him. And then Jalen Noel, again, built like a running back, slot type receiver out of Iowa State, but he's more than that. He can play on the outside as well. Big production at Iowa State. I don't know what's going on at Iowa State, but they got a lot of players that are really NFL ready type players. But I was on him really early before all the hype train started with him. And the Raiders are looking for a slot receiver, in my opinion. So he would be a great addition. Same with Kyle Williams out of Washington State. Again, another guy, huge production, tough to guard. I've been seeing guys talking about him in the first round. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, but you never know. He's a highly productive player, very good. Can run on the outside, inside, whatever you want him to do. And so I really like where the Raiders are at as far as getting a quality receiver. I want a true X, but if we don't get that, there are other types of receivers that are really good. And I passed up some other receivers that are also really good, but trying to figure out the draft as well when I'm doing this as well. And then my next guy is Jared Wilson from Georgia. Is a center. I know we don't need a center, but what if the Raiders decide the way to improve the offensive line is to keep JPJ at guard and add an elite center? Well, Jared Wilson's athleticism you don't see all the time, especially from a center. I mean, he's very athletic. Georgia player, so obviously we like that, and so he's a guy that to keep an eye on anyways. And then obviously Parrish, we talked about him. RJ Harvey is my next guy out of UCF. If we miss out on some of the other running backs, he's one of my favorite running backs in the class. He can make guys miss. Spytech was talking about the one trait that Bucky Irving had was that the first guy can't tackle him. Like has that quick twitch to get away from the first guy. RJ Harvey has that, and so I really liked him. And then Will Howard's my next guy. Jared Ivey, he could be a 3-4 defensive end, or he could be a 4-3 defensive end as well. But 6'6" out of Ole Miss. Ole Miss had 4 guys that are going to be drafted highly in the draft on the defensive line, but I think he's one of the better guys, and it gets a year to develop even more. I think he'd be a phenomenal player. I think he's, right now the consensus has him low 3rd round. I think he's being slept on. And then my next guy is Vernon Broughton. And then I got Tay Felton, who's been compared to Jalen McMillan, who Spytech drafted. Very athletic out of Maryland, great season. Kind of more that Z-type receiver, kind of the Jacoby Myers type receiver. But I think he has more upside because he's more of a deep threat. He's faster. Next guy I have is Noel Williams out of Cal. May not be the flavor for the Raiders because he's not quite as athletic as they might want. But, man, he's a hell of a football player. And he tackles. I mean, at Shrine Bowl, he made a big 4th down tackle at the goal line for the cornerback position. My only issue with him, he led the country in interceptions with 7. So I loved watching him play. I had him. He had to make my list. Zoff Frazier out of UTEP. Again, another lengthy cornerback, very athletic. Probably fits the eye of a Seattle-type outside cornerback. Really good at the Senior Bowl. So is a guy who makes my list. Another guy, defensive tackle out of Ohio State, Ty Hamilton. I really liked him as a run stopper. He'd be sort of an undersized A-gap player, but Pete Carroll's done that in the past. And so if we do want sort of a run stopping, maybe a little bit undersized type A-gap player, he can play a B-gap, no problem. Yeah, he can be a 3-tech and he'll do all of those things, but he's a solid run defender, and I really liked watching him play. Barrett Carter, outside linebacker type guy, coverage type linebacker from Clemson. He was really hyped up early in the season. He's kind of fallen off, but I went back and watched him play. He's really good. They had him in coverage a lot, and he would be a solid player for us, especially if we're going to go that traditional run stopping type Eldon Roberts type of linebacker, and then we want to pair him with a coverage type linebacker. Barrett Carter would be a good one. Kyle McCord is my other quarterback that makes the list. I think he's a phenomenal thrower of the football. He's mobile too. I like the way he bounced back after Ohio State went to Syracuse, had a phenomenal year. And so if you can get him in the 4th, I think he goes in the 3rd, but we'll see. Baron Sorrell, again, if we're going to go with the 3-4, he'd be a great outside linebacker / edge from Texas. Had a really nice Senior Bowl as well. And then back-to-back Texas guys, Jaden Blue, the running back out of Texas, super fast, quick guy. If we want a third down scat back type dude, or a guy that can go in the slot and be a mismatch there. Just the speed's real. His problem is the fumbles, you know, but we can clean that up a little bit. You got a hell of a player. And then Seth McLaughlin, again, another center from Ohio State. If we're looking to upgrade the line and we don't want to do guard center, we want to keep JPJ at guard, look for Seth McLaughlin. Obviously, he had big success at Alabama, went to Ohio State, was really good there. So as a player to kind of keep an eye on. And then out of Iowa State again, sorry, but Jalen Travis, I think he had a great Senior Bowl. He's very athletic, big dude. I think he's getting drafted probably the 3rd round, but I think a team drafting him is drafting him as their starting left tackle. And so I don't know what's going on with Colton Miller, if something's not quite right there or whatnot, and we need a left tackle that could potentially start for us. I think Jalen Travis could potentially fill that role. Caleb Ranshaw out of Tulane's my next guy, a phenomenal, well-rounded defensive back. And so we missed out on Jahdae Barron, or we missed out on Jacob Parrish. Caleb Ranshaw is sort of my next guy in line for that. Super athletic, a lot of time in the slot. 2 years ago at Tulane, was really good at it. They started having him play more safety role type stuff. At the Senior Bowl, they had him all over the place. So just a really, really solid player. Next guy, Jordan James, a running back out of Oregon. I think he's a guy that I really liked him. He's a power back, but he's a little bit more than that. He's elusive too. He's got a good moves. And I think he's just a solid running back the Raiders could potentially get if we miss out on some of the other guys. Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech. Obviously, Spike Tech likes those guys that go from tackle to guard. He's a guy that's done that well. He's got a lot of reps under his belt. Really good Senior Bowl. So he's a guy that to keep an eye on. Dante Thornton, a true X receiver out of Tennessee. I saw a stat the other day that only one other player that had his size with that speed was Calvin Johnson. Okay, so I mean, if you want to take a shot, obviously Tennessee receivers maybe haven't been panning out that well lately, but I mean, this guy's different. He's like 6'5", 2 whatever, and 4.31 I think he's already ran, or something like that. But only one other player at his size has ran that fast, and that was Calvin Johnson. Then obviously Fidel Diggs is my next guy. Tyrone Ingram Dawkins out of Georgia. This would be a kind of a replacement for Tyree Wilson. He's kind of the same body type, but very athletic. He had a good combine and all that. Didn't have the production in college just because, I mean, he kind of overshadowed on the Georgia line. But, I mean, very, very athletically gifted guy, long, lengthy, athletic, and I think has a lot of upside. And so if we were thinking about moving on from Tyree Wilson and wanted to kind of replace that, it'd be a good one to do it with. Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech, if we did want to get more of a traditional blocking tight end, he'd be a good one. He's like 260 pounds. But he's got some athleticism as well, can get out in the passing game, but definitely could be an inline guy if we move on from there. Could be a guy to replace him and keep Brock off the inline position. Kendre Lambert-Smith out of Auburn. I really liked his game. He stood out to me at the Shrine Bowl. More than anything, he's a terrific blocker. I was kind of thinking about Jacoby Myers and what he's known for is blocking, and that's kind of what Kendre Lambert-Smith's known for. But he's also a 4.3 guy. He's very fast, long arms, like a 3.3-inch arm, so you get huge catch radius. I believe he's a nephew of Cam Chancellor as well, so there may be some connections there. So I really liked his game. The next guy I have is Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas. A lot like Jacoby Myers, is bigger, possession type receiver, but really solid dude. I mean, he runs all the routes. Not the blazing fast guy, but good size, can do all those things. A possession type receiver, or mid-level, I should say, type receiver, kind of like 14, 15-yard average type guy. Really good. And I've got Corey Black. Next guy I've got is Tyler Beatty out of BYU. Again, if we were trying to replace Tyree Wilson, this could potentially be a guy to do it. Long, can play traditional defensive end, but can move into tackle as well. I think he led the nation in pressures. They had like 42 pressures. They had very few sacks. And so get with a guy like Max Crosby, teach him a few moves would be excellent. Elijah Badger out of Florida, again, another well-rounded receiver, good hands, fast, can play all three of the different positions. And then one guy I really liked is Craig Woodson out of Cal, the safety, hard hitter, gets us back to our Raider days of smacking dudes. I really liked him at the Shrine Bowl as well. So a guy that made my list because I really liked watching his film. Next guy I've got is Jackson Harrison Hunt out of SMU. 3-tech guy, huge pressure guy, really good at the Shrine Bowl. Very athletic, long, got good length. He could come in and help bolster our defensive line. Very, very solid player, huge pressure rate for a defensive tackle. And so he's a guy I really was impressed with. Bryce Kellerbull out of Kansas, another guy that tackled, moved to guard at the Shrine Bowl. And one of the first guys that popped to me at the Shrine Bowl, as soon as I saw him, like off the bus, this guy's an NFL guard, right? And he played like it too. He didn't have to play in the game. He was that good. But I mean, I would be really happy if they were able to land him. And then Efton Chisholm, of course, Marcus Siegel we talked about. And then my final guy is Zeke Biggers. And so if we are looking for a true A-gap player, I really liked what he brought to the Shrine Bowl as well. One of the things that was impressive to me with Zeke Biggers out of Georgia Tech was he played sort of at like 360. He was huge, and watch him play against Georgia, he was phenomenal against the run. But he dropped like 30 pounds at the Shrine Bowl, and you could see a lot more pop in his step, but he didn't lose that power. And so if we are looking for a true A-gap, nose tackle type player, I could see us going after Zeke Biggers. And then my UDFA type guys, I'll run through these as well. First, I got a true free safety, JJ Roberts out of Marshall. Super fast. I mean, awesome against Ohio State. You saw him run guys down, completely going in for a touchdown out of nowhere. He shows up, man. He's a really good player, and so he spent over 75% of his time at true free safety. And so I know a lot of Raider fans want a true free safety, and this would be a great get if we could grab him. I think he gets drafted, but we'll see what happens. Another guy I have on here out of Iowa State, Malik Verdon, I think. Anyways, I have him on the list. Tough evaluation because a lot of injuries, but if he can overcome the injuries, he's if you look at his measurables, they're basically Palomal. I mean, it's basically what he is. And so if we like that and we want to sort of get a backup for Palomal, then Malik Verdon would be the ideal fit for that. And then another guy I really like, kind of a Jeremy Chin mold, is Mike Smith Jr. out of East Kentucky. Really good at the Shrine Bowl. Tackler, can cover, very athletic guy. And so, again, if we're trying to sort of get a backup for Chin, he would sort of kind of fit in that mold. And so I kind of want to look at the safeties a little bit, kind of like how we have our roster constructed now, and get guys that are sort of similar skill set. And then the nickelback I have is Lamarian James out of TCU. He was reported as pro day. He was a 4.28 guy, but he also had 12 pass defense as well. But he's a gamer, man. I really liked his game. I liked watching him play. He's got that tough mentality. So if we did need another nickelback type guy, I think that would be a great get for us. And then as far as outside cornerbacks, Melvin Smith Jr. out of Southern Arkansas, he was at the Senior Bowl. I thought, he was really smooth, very athletic, long, total prototypical type of Seattle cornerback, but good movement skills. I really liked what I saw from him. And Zamiah Vaughn out of Utah, again, another guy, same old as that, long cornerback, gets his hands on the football. Definitely a outside type cornerback that sort of in that Seattle mold. He's out of Utah. And one of my favorite linebackers in the draft, a middle linebacker, Francisco Mogua. I can't say his name, but he's out of Miami. I talked about him before. Very good at the Shrine Bowl. Smooth athlete. He can hit. His problem was sort of some processing stuff, but I thought when I watched him at Miami and missed tackle rate, but at Miami is kind of weird because a lot of college teams do it. When you're watching the TV, you see your linemen, you usually see a couple of linebackers, safety, you see the cornerbacks. But you'd watch Miami a lot of times, you'd only see the defensive line and you'd see him. Everybody else would be, he basically would cover the whole middle of the field, and so of course you're going to miss some tackles. But I thought he was so smooth at the Shrine Bowl. I think he's going to be a fantastic. I think he's going to be a really good linebacker in the NFL. And then the other guy I've got is Greg Penn, who didn't test great at the pro day, but super instinctive linebacker out of LSU, and I like LSU defenders. But at Shrine Bowl, you saw him from the middle linebacker position carry a guy all the way down the seam to the goal line, and that's really what our middle linebacker is asked to do a lot of times in the Patrick Graham system, and so he has that ability to do it. He's a good tackler. He's very instinctive, like I say. He's not the super most athletic guy, but he's just a solid player. And if we are going to a 3-4, we wanted kind of a safety hybrid type guy. Jalen Walker out of Indiana. He's like 218. He's a kind of a tweener. He played linebacker. He did play some safety. But there's a role in the NFL for a player like this. He's super athletic. I just liked his film, to be honest with you. And really, that Indiana defense was really good, and I think he was a big part of it. Next guy I've got is Justin Barron out of Syracuse. Again, he's a converted safety to trying to linebacker. And if you watch the linebacker drills, the pass drills at the Senior Bowl, he was the best coverage guy. He should be as a safety, but he's like 230 pounds. And so we saw Divine Diablo's sort of move from safety to linebacker. It took a little time, but he was actually pretty good. And I think Justin Barron could be sort of on that path. And then Dorian Masai out of Auburn. A phenomenal player. You know, he's at Duke. He led Duke in tackles. Then he went to Auburn. He led Auburn in tackles. And Auburn has like 4 or 5 linebackers going to be drafted or UDFAs. And they use him in coverage a ton. And he's really good at it. But he still led the team in tackles. I mean, he is a solid linebacker. I don't know why he's so low on the consensus. I don't think his testing numbers was great, but I mean the film is what it is. I mean, he's really good. And then the 3 technique, Javari Ritzy, I can't really say his name, but out of UNC, I really liked him at the Hula Bowl. I thought he stood out. He stood out so much at the Hula Bowl, he got a combine invite and he rocked the combine. So, and if you watch North Carolina's defense, when he was in the game, it was completely different than when he was out of the game. That tells you he's a pretty damn good player. And if we do want a true nose tackle, again, I'll go back to Georgia. Warren Brinson out of Georgia. Again, another good Shrine Bowl. The Shrine Bowl was loaded with talent this year. It's a great draft to build a roster. I mean, if I had to, if I was an NFL GM and it said you only get rookies, you get your 91 rookies or whatever, this would be a great draft to do it because there's a lot of talent here. But Warren Brinson out of Georgia, solid size, good nose tackle type guy. The defensive end I really liked. He didn't have a great pro day, but Xavier Carlton out of Cal, he rocked it at the Hula Bowl too, but solid defensive 3-4 or 4-3 defensive end. So if we wanted to get a backup for Max, he didn't have the best testing numbers, but highly productive dude. And then another guy that I liked is an outside type linebacker, or a 3-4 type guy, or edge, or Malcolm Kuntz, however you want to say it. Johnny Walker Jr. Out of Missouri. Had like 9 sacks in the SEC. He was very productive. I think he's a very underrated run defender as well. And then, you know, at the Shrine Bowl, he did his thing. So I don't know what to say. Switching over to the offense, at quarterback, Ben Wooldridge, 7-year guy, I know, but a lot of injuries at Fresno State. Went to University of Louisiana, started working with Jordan Palmer. He was a Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year when he finally got the injuries passed. So he's got a lot of throws he can make. He had like a QBR of like 145. And so if we're bringing a guy to compete with Carter Bradley, there you go. Ex-receiver Isaiah Nayer out of Nebraska. Those of you that like Alec Pierce will like Isaiah Nayer. Like a 9.9 RAS score. He's 6'2". He's solid. He's got great hands. He's got length. Be a great guy to bring in to try to fill that X position for us. A Z-type receiver. I put Elijah Badger on here, but I think I already talked about him, so we'll skip that for now. And then the slot receiver, Jerquan Newton out of Toledo, 72 receptions, over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns last year. This guy's a solid slot receiver. So if we miss out on some of the other guys that we talked about, Noel from Iowa State, or Chisholm, that type of thing, or Kyle Williams, this would be a great guy to just take a flyer out as a UDFA. As far as running backs go, Phil Moffitt, if we're looking for a power back out of Clemson. I think he gets drafted, but he did have a shoulder injury, which is sort of the death knell for a running back, but especially a power running back. But if he's over that, he's a hell of a running back. He's got a lot of power behind the pads, and I think he would be a great asset for our team. And if we wanted to add a fullback, Senn-OT, I can't say his name properly, but out of Monmouth, he had 25 rushing touchdowns last year and 17 the year before. The guy is unstoppable at the goal line. So if we want a tight end, a fullback, there you go. Out of Monmouth, 25 rushing touchdowns last year. Unbelievable. And then if we want sort of that scat back kind of guy, a big play kind of guy, Shaderick Powell out of Central Arkansas. I think outside Ashton Genty had the most explosive runs. I mean, the guy was really solid there. He's a small dude, but I mean, a scat back type guy. Why not give it a shot as a UDFA? Tight ends, I got Gavin Bartholomew if we want more of an offensive weapon. I really liked his tape. I thought there's a lot of offensive potential with him out of Pitt. And then Carter Runyon out of Townsend. I was impressed with him at the Shrine Bowl. He was recruited, I think, out of high school as a tackle, so he's a definite blocker, but he's got some game too in the passing game. So I kind of like what he brought. If we look at offensive tackles, Devontae Gordon out of Wake Forest, he's getting a lot of buzz. He's got like 10 top 30 visits. He's a tackle, but he's probably going to be a guard because he had a lot of he was really good at, he's a 5-position kind of guy because he's starting to play center. I heard at the pro days, but his knock at tackle, he had a lot of penalties, and so, but he's a heck of a player. He didn't give up any pressure, sacks, nothing. He's a good run blocker. So put him a guard, and he could be a heck of an asset for us. So keep that name in mind. Another one, Darius Washington of Florida State. Again, another 5-tool guy or 5-position guy, and he played them all well at the ACC. He's a highly ranked ACC player. And who knows where he finds the home at, which position, but it gives you that flexibility. I know the Spy Tech probably likes that. Sal Wormley out of Penn State. I mean, honestly, I think he's the second best run blocking offensive lineman. I mean, especially at guard. Watch him play Michigan. He pancaked both Mason Graham and Grant. I mean, at the Shrine Bowl in the run game, he was just a bulldozer, man. So if we're gonna, even if you just got him to do, jumbo packages and short yardage stuff, he'd be perfect. Nash Jones, who converted tackle to guard, I think is probably his home out of Texas State. Very athletic, more athletic than I thought, but very wide shoulders, and can move guys in the run game. I really liked his game. And then Marlon Martinez out of Mississippi State, maybe a long shot. I didn't get his pro day numbers, but a lot of experience. I saw him play right guard. I liked his movement skills. I know he's trying out center. He's got 35-inch arms, and so a guy with those movement skills and that length would be a great addition. And a center, a possibility is Tyler Ellsbury out of Iowa, 6'5", 310, but he plays guard and center. Kind of a rotational player for some reason in Iowa, but he played a lot because guys would get hurt. He'd kind of fill in. But I believe at his pro day, he would have had of any lineman, he would have had the best 10 split, which is very impressive for a guy that's 6'5", 310. And so I would keep an eye on him. And I got a couple honorable mentions. Paul Lewis III out of Akron. I liked him at the Tropical Bowl. He's a safety, but very long arms, tall. He hits a lot of tackles. This is kind of a long shot. Let's see if he even makes a roster, but I was impressed with him at the Tropical Bowl. And then the last and final guy for me is Cam Sims out of East Tennessee State University. I think he led the nation in PBUs, but very long cornerback, very prototypical Seattle-type cornerback, and so just one I wanted to mention to keep an eye on. So, hey, it's draft day, everybody. Let me know what you think of the video. I really enjoyed watching these prospects all season, throughout the process. There's a lot of talent in this draft. May not be the most blue chip heavy draft, but definitely can change the trajectory of the Raiders for sure if we get it right. Hopefully we do get it right. Hopefully the Raiders are watching this video and they get some of the guys that I mentioned because they're really good football players. And I would enjoy watching them play. But, I encourage all of you guys out there to watch this, to do something like this. It's really hard to do. First of all, there's like 900 or so draft eligible players, and so it's hard to whittle it down to find the guys you like and that maybe would be a fit for the team. But it's a lot of fun. That way you can't complain about the draft if it goes one way or the other. You can have an opinion because you actually somewhat participated. Anyways, that's all I got. Happy draft day. Hopefully the Raiders make some big moves, get us some really good players. We can head off to the Super Bowl soon. All right, that's all I got. Thanks a lot.